You are listening to Confessions of a Counselor podcast with Janice, mental health in bite-sized chunks. Hello and welcome to Confessions of a Counselor. I'm your host, Janice, and in today's episode, I thought we would talk about what is the function of overwhelm. So typically in a session, I will have someone come in. We might talk about anxiety. We might talk about overwhelm. A lot of these kind of hyper arousal states. And so, to go along with our theme of this season, I thought we would talk about the function of overwhelm and kind of what's happening in our body when we're feeling overwhelmed. Okay, let's jump right in. So, when it comes to recognizing again, what is the function of this feeling? What is the function of what's going on for me? We need to kind of come back to our window of tolerance and come back to our understanding of what's happening in our brains. So, our brains are designed to operate in a efficient manner. Um, it wants to do the thing the quickest, it wants to do the thing the fastest, and it wants to make sure that I can do the thing. Um, so oftentimes we see these kind of what would seem negative habits or traits kind of coming up within us that seem maladaptive, but really, when we look at the function of what's going on, makes sense as to why our brains are wired that way. And that doesn't mean that we have to continue to do the thing the way that our brains are wired to do it. So, when it comes to overwhelm, again, similarly to anxiety, we have that flipped lid situation happening. So, I am in in a situation where the kids are running around, my partner's asking me to make dinner. I just got home, the kitchen is dirty, and I don't know what to do. Right, so this is an overwhelmed situation, and my lid is going to flip. Right, I'm not going to have access to my front brain, I'm not going to have access to what's going on, um, and so I'm not going to have access to my skills. I might not have access to a very kind voice. But the function of that is to actually get us to slow down. So, what's happening when our brain flips is that it's trying to only use the basic essentials, right? So our operating system is going on bare bones in order to be able to give all of the rest of the energy that we have left to the essential things, right? Breathing, um, y- our heart rate going, right? Like these basic functions. And so our brain shuts down everything else that isn't essential, like thinking about our thinking or being able to regulate ourselves, right? So it shuts down those systems down and just leaves us with the bare bones, um, which is really helpful if you think about when stress used to be being chased by the tiger, or being overwhelmed meant that there were too many options to choose from for a dinner, right? And I need to make sure I choose the safe option out of the berries. So it makes sense that our brain would shut down all of the executive functioning um, systems, but that doesn't account for how we've grown and developed as a society and what we're doing now. So when it comes to overwhelm, I think the thing that we need to remember is, what do I need? Right? What do I need in this moment? And how can I slow down? Right? What can I do to slow down? And so this is where we can start to introduce our pause button and take our deep breaths, or maybe shake it out, use something cold. So when we can see the function of anxiety is to slow me down and focus to what's important, then when I feel overwhelmed, can I use that information? This is the function, is to slow me down and to get me into the moment. Then I can do that for myself, right? I can use other skills to get me into that moment, so that when the kids are running around and the kitchen is dirty and my husband's asking for what's for dinner, I can say, hey, I need everyone to pause for a minute, and I just need to be able to think. right? And then maybe we're going to shake our bodies out. And maybe I'm going to say, hey, let's all run around for 5 minutes and get our sillies out, and then we can refocus. Or I might be able to say to my partner, hey, I'm feeling really overwhelmed. Can you do dinner tonight? Do you have the capacity for that? And there's many other ways that we can kind of approach that situation. Okay, so I hope you found that helpful as to what is the function of overwhelm and how we can readjust our expectations when we're feeling overwhelmed. Until next time, take care. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Confessions of a Counselor podcast is available anywhere you like to listen to your podcasts, both on Apple and Android. New episodes are released every Friday. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to join the conversation, leave a review, or subscribe to the podcast hosted on Spotify. You can find all these details on janicelyons.com. Until next time, take care.